be. So as long as you're trying, we're going to help you and we'll get you right where you need to be.
No matter your age, if something comes to your mind and you want to do it, right? And you're thinking, should I try this out? I don't know if I should. You're not going to know unless you try. Yeah. I always try to tell people, keep going until you can't go anymore. And then when you keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, stop, take a little mental break, look in the mirror, say, why am I really doing this? And then keep pushing again. Because I think even in my short 9 years, I haven't worked a day in my life. I love my job, I love my career, I love my family, I love my work family. And it's something that you shouldn't shy away from.
Have a nice resume put together. Do it, professionally. Have somebody look at it, proofread it. When you come in for, the interview, dress nice, wear a suit, look professional. Show that you're motivated. Come visit us. Come visit our firehouses. Okay, that has always been a thing that we valued, is for candidates to come and actually visit the firehouses, meet the people that work here, and tell us about your experience.
Off of that is the other preparation is, don't get into any trouble. Like, that's really big. Do not get into any trouble because, background checks, making sure you have that clean record, because that's big. So don't get into no trouble.
The best advice I can give, if you're going to be interviewing for San Diego Fire, seek help from San Diego firefighters, because our interview process is very different. And if you don't seek help, the odds of passing an interview are very, very tough. Fire interviews are very challenging. For example, they may say, hey, tell me about yourself. Well, that's an education, training, experience question. So if you start answering the question by telling them about yourself, that's very difficult to score against the next person. Coupled with that interview preparation, it's just make yourself as valuable as possible. You're gonna have the minimum requirements, right? But you wanna try to grasp as many other things that will make you valuable also. And some things to talk about that's gonna set you apart in that interview process. For example, professional athlete is going to set her apart because she can talk about all the experiences and how they relate to the fire service. Just things like that will make you a valuable candidate.
Hi. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Recruitment in the Spotlight. Today we are here with the City of Riverside Fire Department. Woohoo! We are so happy to have them in studio as our guests. I want to thank you all for joining us today. I'm your host, Lasana Pakeman, and so before we get into introducing our guests, I thought I would take a moment and introduce myself and just the show itself. So again, my name's Lasana Pakeman, she, her pronouns. I get to be the recruitment manager for Cal-JAC. Also, if you're not already, please go ahead, subscribe, like the channel. If you've been here before, you know exactly what RITS is. You're gonna learn a lot of good information today. Make sure that you turn on your notifications for future episodes and videos. We have a lot of great content about the CPAT, FCTC written testing, and also starting out your career in the fire service, and there's so much more. So also joining me today is the program director for the Firefighter Candidate Testing Center, also known as FCTC, Mitch DeAnda.
Thanks, Lasana, and thank you all for being here. We're really excited to get to know more about the City of Riverside Fire Department, and I want to encourage you to utilize the chat below. Definitely put your questions in there so we can get them answered by our panel of experts for you. And to start us off, to make sure folks are paying attention, I guess, we would love to know where you're watching from. We want to know where our audience is at, so let us know in the chat down below where you're watching from. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Mitch. And so with that, we will jump right in and meet our panelists. Hello, panelists. Hi. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do some introductions. I think we can start with name, rank, and how long you've been a firefighter, and we'll start with you.
Yeah, my name is Anna Sanford. I'm a firefighter paramedic. I've been with Riverside City for 2.5 years, a total of 7 years of service in the fire service.
All right.
Hi, my name's Caden Hartshorn. I'm a firefighter, soon to be firefighter paramedic, and I've been with Riverside City for 1 year and 4 months.
Hello, my name is Marcus Davis, a firefighter paramedic, been with the city for 7 years now.
Good morning, Rudy Pinetto. I'm a firefighter EMT. I'm coming up on 10 years with the City of Riverside Fire Department.
Okay, all right. You can hear the 10 years in the bass of that voice. That was good. Love that, love that. Rudy, let's actually start off with you. Sure. So we'd love to know more about each of your journeys into the fire service. So if you could walk us through what your journey into the fire service was like, and then the steps you took to prepare.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Orange County. I grew up with a single mother, so I had 5 siblings, 6 now, but 5 at the time. So I had to grow up a little faster than the rest of my siblings, helping my mom out with them. And so I was first to graduate high school, first to graduate college. When I graduated high school, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do yet. I attended Riverside Community College and ran into one of the local members from the fire agency there. I saw that he was preparing to teach a course, and that's when I started looking through their catalog, found that there's fire tech classes, and I thought that sounds interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and embark in something like this, and started taking classes. And I was working retail at the time, so in order for me to get from home to school, I had to walk to school. A couple miles to get to school, get back home, get to work. Same thing when I attended classes at the Riverside campus. I had to get on the bus, go to school, come back, go to work. So I worked hard. My mom instilled a lot of diligence, work ethic. So I saved a lot of money, bought myself a vehicle so that I can make my goals come true. So made that a little easier. And I knew that I needed to start pursuing more skill set for the firefighting, for the fire service. So I left retail. I started building air gauges, airplane parts, which helped with my mechanical aptitude at that point. My mom, unfortunately, wasn't able to teach me those skills, so I had to go and embark and try to learn on my own. Soon after that, actually, I became a single father, so I had my daughter to take care of, and I knew I need to hurry up and get this going. So I did my EMT, took out a loan, did my fire academy, and I left that Circle Aerospace and started working as an EMT, became an ambulance operator, and a reserve. So I was doing all 3 at one time. So 2 jobs, the 3rd one was for free, but I knew these were some sacrifices and skill sets that I'm gonna need to pursue the fire service. So I tested up and down the state. There was times I didn't pass, And it was a blow, you know, to my motivation. But like I said, my mother instilled a lot of work ethic, persistence, and I wasn't going to give up. I needed to show to myself, my daughter, my family that I'm going to make this through. I'm going to go ahead and keep pursuing what I'm doing and work hard. And sure enough, I stuck to my goal, and City of Riverside was the first to call me, and I'm happier than ever. And I have a passion for it, and I love this department, and I think they can all speak for it, and my family can speak for it. That is all I talk about. So I love it, and that was basically my journey on how to become a firefighter. So.
Yeah, and you really utilized all the steps, all the resources that people talk about. Yeah, toward getting the job.
Absolutely.
Quick question.
Yes.
In college, you were there before you learned about fire tech classes. What were you pursuing at the time?
I wasn't really pursuing anything. I thought about joining the Air Force, and you know, I always had a slight passion for airplanes and all that when I was growing up. I can't tell you why I didn't join the Air Force, but I think things happen for a reason, and I am still doing some civil and still providing services to the community. So yeah, that's just how it happened, you know. And the more I learned taking these fire courses and doing station visits, the more passion, that burning passion I got instilled into me by a lot of the members on the calls they went, the camaraderie that they have, a lot of the hobbies that they do together, that family orientation. So I'm like, this is for me. I love working as a team, so this is perfect career for me, and it's worked out really well. So.
Yeah. And it all led you here.
It all led me here.
All right, Anna, how about you? If you could talk about, you know, your career path, how it evolved, and then most specifically, how you carried skills from your past experiences into the fire service.
Yeah. So first off, I didn't get hired in the fire service or even decide I wanted to go to the fire service until I was in my mid-30s. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I kind of an unconventional for California. I grew up on 4 acres, 4-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. My mom was a nurse. My dad was self-employed. And being the oldest, I had to help with the family. I was babysitting kids, you know, out in the greenhouses with my dad. I had to learn to swing a hammer, drive a tractor, drive a quad, all that stuff before I could ever get my driver's license at 16 years old, you know? So it did a couple of things for me. One, it really instilled the aspect of hard work. Commitment to your family and to those that you care about. And then also it really started to develop a passion within me to use my hands, and that's a big aspect of how I learn. I started riding horses when I was 3 years old, and I have been all over the place in terms of different things that I have done with my life before I got here to the fire service. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I graduated from high school. I was homeschooled, K through 12. So the way that I was kind of learned to learn was very different. I trained professionally horses for 2 years before I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna kind of figure out what, like, no one in my family had ever gone to college. You know, I mean, my mom was a nurse, so she has her associate's degree, which is what you needed at that time. But I was the first in my family to go to a 4-year school. So big learning curve for me, my parents, everybody. I moved 6 hours away from home, and I sat in the classroom for my first time, and I was like, what the heck is this?
Right.
What am I doing? Okay, let's see. This is very different from how I have studied for so long. So I had a big learning curve, and I had to learn to adjust in a lot of facets. However, a lot of what I had to do as a kid growing up has really kind of come full circle into a lot of how we learn within the fire service. Going to college taught me how to kind of study the book aspect of it, but there's so much more that we do that is super hands-on. And the mechanical aspect of learning how things work and in what we do is really kind of where I love. So I went to college. I thought I kind of wanted to be a teacher. I love teaching. I'm super passionate about people development, all that stuff. Well, I realized public school wasn't where I wanted to be. Again, love teaching, wasn't where I wanted to be. So I moved out of state a couple of times, different internships, different jobs, came back when my sister started having kids, and because family means a ton to me. And so at that time, that was in 2010 when I first moved back to California, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go substitute teach while I try to figure out where I want to go. All the substitute teaching jobs at that time were taken up by teachers who had been laid off between 2008 and 2010. So I went back into retail. Started managing retail management for I think it was like 6 years, and played a little football, full contact women's football at that time. And my little brother, who I wasn't around for when he went through all of his fire stuff because I was already out of the house, was like, hey, sends me this link, and it's a news broadcast for a department that was going to be hiring and was recruiting female athletes. I was playing football at the time. So I was like, you know what? I was like, this is interesting. Little did he know that I was talking with my friends about, I need to figure something out. And I was really thinking about going fire or PD, but I hadn't said anything to anybody except for my closest friends. So I took that as my sign of that's where I was supposed to go. So I took that summer and I planned. My brother was like, well, I went through the process 5 years ago. It changes a lot all the time. It's always constantly morphing into new things. So I spent that summer and planned what I was gonna do, how I was gonna do it. So with working 50 to 60 hour weeks as a manager, I put myself through EMT school, going 2 nights a week. And then on top of that, the following semester, I took a intro to fire academy class at the community college where I lived in San Diego area. And that was where I was like, really kind of got fired up about like, okay, I like this. There's motors involved, there's physical things involved, there's camaraderie. Like, I was super stoked about it. So as kind of that time went on, within a year and a half, I had applied to 3 different departments that had opened up. 1 department called me back. What I was fortunate with my first department was, being older, I couldn't afford to just walk away from where I was financially. So my first department put me through their academy. They sent me to EMT school, they sent me to hazmat school. And as I got into my career, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna kind of think about some more things that I wanna do, and just kind of what's suited for my life. And that's where I ended up with Riverside City. We don't always think that we're gonna end up, we always think we're gonna end up one place, and life and God takes us to another place. So that's where I ended up with Riverside, and I honestly haven't looked back since. So,
who feels like pumped just by hearing that? Right? Like, that was outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
Man, Marcus, you're next. Yes. All right.
Let's go.
Let's go. So, what inspired you to become a firefighter, and how did you end up working for Riverside?
Yeah, so my inspiration started at a young age. My father, retired firefighter with the city of Riverside, served 32 years. So just doing station visits at a young age, I was already intrigued. The tones go off, my heart drops like, oh, I'm going on a call. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to many times, but I'm like, you know what, that's my motivation. I'm gonna get to that seat one day. So just going through high school, getting that done, and right out of high school, I said, I know exactly what I wanna do. I'm gonna be a firefighter. I knew it, and I thought it would be an instant, hey, I'm getting out of high school and I'm going straight to becoming a firefighter. And I was humbled, because at that time it was very hard to get hired. I was applying for large departments just to be, you're 18 and have a heartbeat, come apply with us. And I was going through interview after interview and taking these tests with 3,000 plus people, and unfortunately it just wasn't happening. So luckily, with some family support, I was encouraged to go to college, and I'm more than thankful for that opportunity, because that's where I met my now wife. We have 2 kids together, so it was a blessing in disguise. Didn't even know it, because I had no intention on going to college. Lo and behold, I finished all 4 years at college and still wasn't hired, despite trying the whole time I was going to college. So I got out of college, I'm like, man, I need to separate myself from the rest. What can I do? So I went to EMT school, and I started putting myself through a fire academy. I got a job with an ambulance company, started doing some reserve time for free, anything that I could to separate myself without having any lapse in my resume. So with that opportunity, Riverside opened up, and they were the first to call, and they called about a week apart from another department, but I chose Riverside specifically because my dad was still there, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to be able to work with him. So that was like a dream and a goal of mine. And we had many incidents together that we worked alongside, and it still brings me to tears just thinking about it. So that opportunity was just very humbling, I'll say. But that's what led me into the fire service. And I just knew with Riverside, the culture, everything about the department. I knew the culture growing up. I knew some of the members growing up. So everything kind of just felt home when I knew I was going to apply for Riverside. And I'm just thankful that they gave me the opportunity to be here. So.
What I love about the 3 of your stories, we've spoken, multiple times before today, is it seemed like things weren't on track. It seemed like they were kind of going however they were going, or it was taking too much time, and it just led you to the right place at the right time, you know, with the right people. So just outstanding. So thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Caden, you are up next. All right. So what aspects of the fire service interested you? And also, can you talk about how you navigated the requirements of becoming a firefighter?
Right, so I really liked how you phrased that question, the aspects of the fire service, right? Because when you're becoming a firefighter, it encompasses so much more than just that job description, you know, whether it be on the labor side or the actual day-to-day life. Not just are you responding to emergencies, but, you know, you're living station life. You know, I'm working with these individuals, cooking meals together, whatever it may be. So there were a lot of things that drew me to that. And it was kind of that camaraderie that I really liked that aspect of it. Additionally, I liked how physical it is, right? So everything we do in this job is physically involved, you know, whether it's our morning PT sessions, sometimes evening PT sessions. You know, on top of that, we have obviously the emergencies we're responding to, structure fires, wildland fires, and then also our medical aids. You know, none of our equipment is light, you know, so even on the medical aids carrying in that equipment, you get a little mini workout throughout the day. So I really liked also, I'm outside in the sun, moving around, right? It's not, I'm in a hospital all day or I'm in an office all day, you know, kind of under these like sterile lights. Lastly, I liked the service side of it. So it doesn't have to be kind of like every day, these grand service, you know, where we're saving like 5 people out of a structure fire. It's something as simple as, hey, this person's grandma or this person's mother's going to the hospital. What can we set them up for? You know, do you have a dog we need to put them in a room? Do we need to turn off the lights before you leave? Do we need to put food out for any animals? Stuff like that. And I liked being able to kind of get that fulfillment out of helping people, you know, even if it's not on a grand scale, even if it's just the little things, that really drew me to it. In terms of navigating the requirements, I was an explorer for this department before I was hired, so I was grateful to have a couple of mentors that assisted me throughout the process, but also a lot of the community colleges in our area have excellent documentation on their websites on, okay, to become a firefighter or to get into our paramedic school or fire academy, this is what you need to do. So basically went on there, I said, okay, for EMT school, I need to do this, all right. For the fire academy, I need to take Fit 1, so I'm gonna take that, you know. Now for medic school, I need to take anatomy, let's go do that. And then it kind of helped me, you know, via their websites, figure out what I needed to get done to become a firefighter.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And just being so young and kind of getting through that whole entire process, can you you've just been able to accomplish so much. And so we'd like to have you share, you know, just as a younger firefighter, about a time where maybe you experienced a roadblock and like how you overcame that. Because I think in your story you had mentioned, you know, you were an explorer and then you moved on and there was maybe a test you took or something, and walk us through that.
Yeah, 100%. So like all of these people, you know, nobody's journey is perfect. Nobody just walks on, they're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Here's a job, here you go. You know, there's always something that comes up. So for me, you know, I had been going through EMT school. I did that in my high school. I'd gotten accepted into the fire academy right out of that. I was kind of rolling. I was working at AMR with their program, and then I was applying to paramedic school because I went, okay, that's what I need next to further myself. Part of the paramedic school entrance process is you take a written exam, which I had passed, and then there's a semi-manipulative exam. You kind of verbalize some patient care scenarios, and I had actually failed that exam for the first time. It was for an accelerated paramedic class that was going to be a little bit shorter than the program, and they kind of wanted the best of the best for that class. So that was kind of a double trouble because of one, you know, not only am I losing that opportunity to go to this class and, you know, be in the accelerated class, I'm like, I'm not the best of the best, you know, I'm like, dang it, you know, but that was good because it kind of let me reset, okay, I need to retool my approach to this. I need to really, you know, take my studying a little bit more seriously. And as an EMT, what can I do in my, you know, present job to advance myself so that I'm ready for paramedic school? So definitely hit that roadblock. But I think like all of these individuals, you know, everybody hits a roadblock. It's what you do to overcome it that's really the important part.
That part. That part. So Mitch, if we just want to remind people to go ahead and put some questions in the chat. Did we want to ask any questions now, or should we keep going?
I think we can forge ahead for now.
Okay.
And, but definitely get your questions in the chat. I know we have folks from Riverside that are answering questions there, but we'll have some queued up for our on-camera experts real soon.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thank you, and shout out to your team for working behind the scenes in the chat. Captain Tasker, shout out to you. All right, so Marcus, we're coming back to you, yes. And we'd like you to give us an introduction to your department, the City of Riverside. How big is it? What are some of the programs and specialties that your agency has to offer?
Yeah, so the great city of Riverside, we are an accredited Class 1 department, ISO Class 1, and we are one of 5 in the whole state of California. So that just means that it's an insurance rating, and we have the best rating. It's rated on a scale of 1 to 10, and we have a Class 1 rating, just saying that we are the most equipped to respond to emergencies within the city, and we're just the most trained. It takes a lot of factors into play, but bottom line, we're well equipped to take care of our community. And then we're comprised of 14 stations covering a total of 82 square miles, and we run 34,000 calls a year, and it's trending upward. Every year we seem like we run a little bit more and a little bit more. We service a population of over 300,000 in the city of Riverside. So just some of the specialty programs that we have a hazmat team, we have an arson team, we have technical rescue, swift water rescue, urban search and rescue. We have a numerous amount of opportunities within the department, and that's really what I love about our department, is that we're large enough that we can, the opportunity is there for you to be what you want to be. And we're small enough that we still are a close-knit family where I can, go work at Anna Station, and it's not like the first time we're meeting. It's everyone has a story. You can name anyone in the department and we'll have a story, or we've worked with them, we know each other, and it just gives you that more family aspect. But Anna and Rudy are actually on the hazmat team, so they've been doing a great job on that. We're an OES Type 1. It's the best as it gets for the hazmat, also for tech rescue. So a lot of opportunity in the city of Riverside as far as specialty programs and then things that we offer.
Mm-hmm. And you all also have a FEMA team. And so what does that consist of? What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so California Task Force 6, and we respond to large-scale incidents nationwide. So we've responded to Hurricane Katrina, 9/11, Hurricane Harvey. We've also had the most recent one, I think, was the Hawaii incident at Lahaina that we responded to. But I mean, it's we're one of
70 nationwide and one of 6 in the state. So it's comprised of basically of the deployment can consist of up to 70 members depending upon the request, and we can respond to any natural disaster incident within the entire United States. So most of the California teams are the ones that went to Hawaii because of the fact that we were geographically the closest. But our Swiftwater team has been out to the hurricanes. We even have a search dog. He's been out on numerous different things. There's a whole logistics aspect that we can actually even just deploy like half that team that's fully just logistics. So there's a lot of different facets within that FEMA team that you can really get in. Like even the paramedics, like being on the specialty medical side of it, you get training for like life-saving deals within a confined space for building collapse. Like there's a lot of different things that we really specialize in on that team.
Mm-hmm. So many different specialties that people can go into.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And so, Rudy, how about for yourself and others, what makes Riverside such a great place to work for seasoned firefighters as well?
So some of the specialties he had mentioned, I mean, I know other agencies haven't, but the fact that we're within that enclosed area, it's pretty big, right? So to add to that, we do also have OES engines. So we have Type 1s, Type 3s. A lot of the firefighters that come in have possibly been like wildland firefighters. So we do send strike teams up north for brush fires. I go every single year multiple times. And so that's a different aspect. We do have wildland interface like Marcus and Ann had mentioned, but this is a bigger grand scale. We're now walking through, possibly Sierras and big old pine trees. So we constantly do training on wildland interface, on brush fires. I think the infrastructure of our city, we have high rise in downtown. So we do have we have 3 tiller trucks. We have 4 trucks total, 3 are tillers. So we have high rise in the downtown area. We have freeways that intersect our city. So we have the 91 freeway, the 60 and Interstate 215. So they intersect the city, border around the city. We have a lot of target hazards in our city as well. I mean, we have 4 universities, we have 3 hospitals, we have convention centers, performing arts centers. So there's a lot of different aspects for our department that will draw someone to come in. Okay, well, I can participate in one of the specialties, or hey, I want to work on a truck, or I want to work on an engine, I want to work on a squad. So we have squads as well. So I think with the size that we are, with the 14 stations, it is, I wouldn't say easier, but you have a lot more opportunity to participate because we tend to recruit. Who wants to be part of this team? We send a recruitment out, and once you're hired and you pass probation, hey, actually that appeals to me, and I've always wanted to be part of hazmat, or I've always wanted to be part of tech rescue. I like working with the ropes, setting up rope systems for rescue systems. So I think that aspect of it it's great. It's a great quality for our department. You get, there's stipends if you continue your education. So if you want to continue your education, our department will reward you for that. Hey, you're putting in more work. You're becoming more of an asset, not only to yourself, but to our agency. You get, a stipend for this. So it's constantly learning, constantly training. We do, as far as the hazmat goes, we participate with local agencies like Corona or Riverside County Fire. So we participate in multi-agency training. So, hey, this is what we do. Hey, this is what they do. And we just all become one team. So, I think that's what really drew me to it. Doing the academy in Riverside County also, I got to meet a lot of the cadre, which were from the city of Riverside. And so what I got from them was the aggression, the aggressive firefighting tactics that our department has is what really drew me to it. The physical aspect of it. I knew individuals who didn't want to apply for us because they felt like, man, I don't know if I'm physically prepared to work for the city of Riverside. But those are all things that drew me to it. I'm like, hey, I want to be physically fit. I want to be the best of the best. And I know what it entails. I want to work for the city of Riverside. So I applied. It took about 3 times and I don't want to give up. I applied, I didn't get it. I applied again, I didn't get it. I'm like, I'm not stopping it. I want to work there. So third time I came around and I got it and I'm here and I'm loving it. So,
Shout out to humans that don't take no for a final answer,
no, absolutely not.
That's right.
Man, and
not.
also you said something earlier, you made this parallel between, the CPAT and working for Riverside is just you come in with this knowledge, but we'll teach you everything you need to know. There's really specific things you need, but do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, as far as, the physical fitness portion of it, yeah. So, you take the CPAT and it's got the 8 evolutions you got to do under a certain amount of time, and it all pertains to rigorous and job specific. Pulling hose, you want to throw ladders and all that kind of stuff. So we do workouts even now to this day at the station where we get in our turnouts, we're dragging sleds or tires, we're flipping tires, we're hitting tires with a sledgehammer, we're carrying ladders or logs. So everything we do, it's always job specific. So if I was going to tell a candidate, hey, if you want to prepare, it's not just going to the gym and doing some biceps and going home. You want to do a lot of circuit training and that explosiveness. So if you want to go for a 3 to 5 mile run, that's great. But let's incorporate maybe some sprints. You got to build on that cardiovascular. So one of my seniors always told me, if you want to work for the city of Riverside, it's legs and lungs, legs and lungs. So I worked on a lot of the, deadlifts, squats, my cardio. So, it's all about hydration as well for those that want to join. It's taking care of your body, doing the stretches, doing that. You want to prevent those injuries. There are on-job injuries that happen through any agency, and there's ways to prevent it. So you got to take care of your body. But I think with the city of Riverside, we have some workouts called the Gauntlet that probationaries will hear about, and people outside our agency have heard about. But that's what drew me to it even more so. I'm like, hey man, if I can pass probation with the city of Riverside, then I know I made it.
Right.
Especially after hearing all these stories of how physically demanding we are. That's what really drew me to it. So, and I love it. And I love how we all participate when we're on a crew or working. If I'm working overtime with Marcus, hey man, let's go do a workout. Let's do it. Hey, we'll do another one in the evening. Let's just stay in the best shape that we possibly can, not only for ourselves and our crew, but obviously most importantly for the community. So.
Mm-hmm. Well stated, huh? that was well stated. Anna, speaking of Riverside and how wonderful of a place it is to work, can you talk a bit about station life and what that's like in the city of Riverside?
Yeah, so we're very family oriented with it, right? We all live together for 20 plus hours, depending upon how many shifts in a row we end up having to work, depending with different demands going on within the city and the state. But we eat meals together, which is awesome. We've got communal areas, but then we've also got personal areas. So all of our stations have individual dorm rooms. And then depending upon the era of the station, some of our newer stations that were built up to 10 years ago, they have not only individual dorm rooms, but also showers and bathrooms as well. So in some of our older stations that have been retrofitted over the years, those stations will have typically a communal bathroom, but then they'll also have another individual bathroom where, say, if myself or another female is working that day, that we have our own place that we can use. But it's definitely nice that I don't have to hear these guys snore all the time, or they don't have to hear me snore. I mean, one of the two. So, but yeah, it's definitely nice to be able to have that, like, you know, especially if you're studying for an upcoming test or something like that, to have that place that you can kind of go to get away, to be like, okay, hey, I've got some downtime between calls. We're not training. We're not, you know, doing something else involved with the community. I'm going to go lock myself in my room for a couple hours and get some good studying in. Or, you know, that like much needed safety nap in the afternoon that is like a 20 minutes power nap to keep you through the night. Because, I mean, as we all know, those nights can get long. Absolutely. So, and safety is the most important.
Absolutely. And so for candidates watching now, they want to get in touch with you. Caden, how can they go about doing that? If they want to maybe schedule a ride-along, ride-out, something like that, what's the process?
Right, so getting in touch with us as an organization, there's all of our social medias, which I know you guys are providing. That's an excellent way to get in touch with us. But then also, you know, if you're looking, you know, and you're in our process and you're thinking, I want to go do a station visit, or I just want to, you know, see what the life is like down at these Riverside City stations, come to a station, you know, as long as it's not, you know, late at night or something like that. If you ring the doorbell, the crew will be more than happy to, you know, set you up. Either they might be able to interact with you right then, or they might say, hey, you know what, we're on shift 2 days from now. Can you come back then? We'll be ready to host you and, you know, kind of run you through maybe a mock interview or something like that. If you don't live close to the stations, or maybe you don't want to, you know, go introduce yourself in person for whatever reason, you can also call our fire administration, and they'll kind of provide you with a station and a time that you could come in. And what's important with that, though, is if you do come down to a station and you're trying to introduce yourself and set up a time, make sure you're dressed professionally, you know, because this is going to be your first impression with the department, and first impressions go a long way. So you want to make sure you're looking professional, you know, in some form of business attire.
So leave the slides at home.
Leave the slides at home.
Bring the slides.
No props and midgets.
You two had some really good advice, Anna and Rudy, in terms of preparing for the station visit, in terms of what to bring, what goodies look like, and then also just advice that you typically provide people with. Can we start with you and maybe segue over?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm mentoring several individuals right now, 2 young men. And so they asked, hey, can I do a station visit? I said, absolutely. Just these are the hours I would like you to be here. Before you arrive, I want you to think of some questions. You know, bring a notepad, have some questions laid out for us. Bring a notepad in case there's information that you may gather from our station visit that is not accessible on the website. So I think station visits are pertinent to an individual if they want to apply for that specific agency. And when I told them, you know, I told the individual, said, come in a business attire. Anything you do from this point on when you're pursuing the fire service will be an interview. So whether it's taking a test, whether it's just doing a station visit, whether it's making a phone call, I said, so if you already know, then it's business attire. You can come in a suit, tie, or at least business casual. You know, be groomed. Don't come in with your hair all messy or greasy. Look professional. Look professional, treat it like it's the real deal, and you will get that same respect back. They will take you serious if you do that. So, and we have a tradition, you know, if you're coming to the house, just like if I were to go visit you, I'd probably bring you a treat or, you know, some drinks or whatever you like. So it's the same aspect, you know, hey, we tend to, it's not required, but we give them that insight, like it's not required, but it'll look that much better. You know, you're taking the time of the crew, and they're going to take the time to help you out. So, yeah, that's what I said. Then come in, bring a resume, and we will basically dissect it, for lack of a better term. And if there's anything that we can critique and help that individual possibly better the resume or their answers, you know, hey, these are some weaknesses in some of your responses, and here were some strengths. Let's focus on your weaknesses, and let's see if we can, you know, get this going, get the ball rolling in the right direction, so we can get you going on this pursuit for the career. So, I don't know if there's anything I missed, Anna.
I was supposed to talk about treats. One thing that I'll add on a couple things to it. So, kind of tradition within the fire service, and pretty much anywhere you go, is we always kind of pay forward that tradition, or pay forward that respect, right? So we're taking time out of our day at the station to sit down with you and to help you kind of get prepped for this next phase in your pursuit of life. So little treats, everybody always kind of tends to bring ice cream, cookies, something store-bought. That's fine. That's totally fine. And again, it's not a requirement. Everybody has different budgets. But one thing that I always find that's cool is when people have, say, a unique family upbringing, like say you're Greek or your grandma made this really good dish that was always a big family deal. Everybody has their opinions about homemade stuff and what actually goes into it. But the thing about it is it is a conversation builder. So if it's something unique and it's something that the guys can then get to know more about you and where you come from and what you bring to the table. And so one thing that I always kind of have told people with my previous jobs and things like that is I used to sit on the interview side of the table a lot. And I was interviewing a lot of very young adults coming into the workforce, and they would always just sit there and be like, I don't know how to act, like I don't know what to say. It's a conversation, just like kind of like what we're doing here today. It's the same thing when you go for a station visit, sitting on the other side of that whole panel on the other side of the table that's asking you, that one person, all these questions. We just want to get to know you. And it's the same thing when you sit down for an actual interview. Obviously, there's a lot more stakes on the table, but it's the same type of thing. It's a conversation. We want to get to know you. We want to know who you are and what you're going to bring to our department for the next 30 years of your career, right? So, yeah.
So bring some treats, homemade treats, maybe if you have them, if you want. Yeah, but there's some safe ones as well. Good stuff.
But even if people take that decision as to whether or not they want to eat it or not, it is still very much it's the thought, it's the conversation that it brings around it. It's something different and it makes you memorable, right? Because everybody just brings cookies,
Because even if we don't remember you bringing it, we will remember that you didn't. I'm like, I remember this guy. I remember this gal.
Did it. So good, so good. So we have questions in the chat for you all. We're only going to take a few to make sure we can get back and keep talking about the wonderful city of Riverside. But at this time, we are going to go ahead and take a few questions. So Mitch?
All right. Thanks, Lasana. So first off, Marcus, it looks like you have a fan out there. So Kuma Pops is rooting for you. Let's go, Marcus. You all also kind of already touched upon a question we have from Instagram, which is, what makes Riverside Fire Department the best around? And I feel like you've told us about numerous different programs and the incredible culture that you're all a part of there. But we do have a couple questions about the Explorer program. And so, Caden, I think this is probably good questions for you. But essentially, we have a high schooler that's interested in the Explorer program and is wondering if you have any more info on that, or just words of encouragement or advice for someone that's maybe trying to take a similar path that you did.
Yeah, 100%. So for Explorer programs, whether, this high schooler is in Riverside or anywhere, typically they're going to be from 14 to 21 years of age. And then they'll typically also require that you've either started or completed your freshman year of high school, just to make sure that you kind of moved out of middle school and, you're moving up in the world. Along with that kind of maximum age requirement, sometimes it'll be 20. And then you might also see, depending on where you live, it might be called a cadet program instead of an Explorer program. But for the program, here at the city of Riverside, all you have to do is go to our website, riversideca.gov/fire, navigate down to the special programs, then go to the Explorer page, and it has a bunch of information about our recruitment, what the program consists of, and the physical agility test to enter it. It's actually based off of your guys' CPAT. It's very, very similar, just with a couple adaptations for our tower. And related to that, we actually have recruitment coming up for our Explorer program next week. It's going to be on Wednesday night, and all the details for that are, again, going to be on that website for the location and then the other special requirements for our program. So we would love to see, any potential Explorer applicants come down to the tower. For our program, we do a 6-month training portion. So during that time, you're sort of, developing your skills. We're showing you the ropes of just literally showing you the ropes with ropes and knots, and then also hose, our breathing apparatus, and then the different apparatus that we have at the city. And then once you complete that 6 months, you can go ride along on our fire engine and kind of meet members of the crew. And I would say, as an Explorer, that's probably the biggest asset that you can gain, is making those connections at the station and going on those ride-alongs. I personally, found a couple of mentors during that time that assisted me throughout the entire Explorer process and kind of navigated me, that helped me, even once I was done with the Explorer program, they helped me progress through that next phase of my life of trying to get hired as a firefighter.
That's crucial. That's crucial. So you received support while in the Explorer post or in the Explorer program, and then afterward as well.
Yes, it's really lifelong connections that you make through that program. And even not just the advisors, I had Explorers when I joined when I was 14. I had people that were 17, 18 just getting into the hiring market, where I could ask them, well, what did you do now that I was 18 looking for a job and they were 22 at a fire department? Well, what did you do to get hired? What process did you take? And kind of bounce ideas off of them, or learn, their interviewing tips or whatever it may be.
And I think it's a great program. You got, like Hayden did, you got kids that are in high school or even young adults. They're taking time out of their life to come in for free, and they want to do ride-outs. They want to better themselves. They want to learn that station etiquette. They want to participate in extra training. So we become mentors to them when they come to the station, and we'll get repetition or repetitive explorers that come by, and we get to know them on a personal basis. We get to know about their family. We get to see their work ethic. If there's something they're lacking in, we can mentor them right then and there. Hey, well, this is something we can possibly remedy to help you out. And I enjoy the explorers coming by. It's fun to see them come by. It's fun to see them smile. They work out with us, and it's just great. They want to better themselves. I mean, they can be out, playing video games, going to the mall, or whatever they want to do, but they decide, hey, my free time, I'm going to go and I'm going to ride out with the City of Riverside, and I want to better myself. And I think it's great. I enjoy having the explorers. When I saw Caden when he got hired, I was like, oh, I didn't know we hired you. I remember seeing you as an explorer. Now you're here, as a full-time firefighter. So it's a great thing. And it's a good way to start, hey, we may want to hire this individual, and let's push it through so we can take this individual that they already know the way that Riverside trains and the way that we do everything, and the culture and station etiquette and training. So it's a great program, absolutely.
And it did give me a huge leg up on probation. There was never, I've never done it the Riverside way. It's always been the Riverside way, It's always been, this is how we do it. And I'm like, all right, let's go for it, just at a little higher intensity on probation. Yeah.
Perfect. I know that we do have a few more questions, so we're going to go back to Mitch.
All right. Thanks, Lasana. So Gabriel from YouTube has a few excellent questions, and I think we'll start with you, Rudy, and then maybe you can kick it around to the rest of the panel. But speaking about workouts and all of that, Gabriel's wondering, number one, do you have any favorite workouts or exercise activities that are kind of your go-to or most enjoyable? And part that I really like is, do you have any favorite hikes in and around Riverside City?
Okay. So hikes, I will say I do enjoy, we have Mount Rubidoux in our city. So when I was on probation, and even now, I would actually take my turnouts, wear my turnouts, and they can attest to this, but there's two paths you can take to Mount Rubidoux. The left side is a very steep, long way, and we would run it all the way to the top, run back down, take the right side, run all the way to the top. So I would do three laps of that, and it's pretty intense. There's a time where I went with one of our fellow paramedics, and we pushed the sled up Mount Rubidoux and our turnout, so we threw a couple 45-pound plates. So like I stated before, legs and lungs are great. I enjoy going for runs, so I'll do long-distance runs. I typically will alternate between wearing a vest and not wearing a vest, only because I want to, we're going to be wearing a lot of weight. So it basically simulates wearing turnouts or my SCBA. And I do enjoy doing sprints. My wife actually has been doing sprints, and hi babe, I know you've got me doing sprints. So she and I have been doing sprints, and she's got me working really hard, uphill sprints. And I don't have the biggest legs, but they can do some work. So yeah, I do have a lot of heart. That's one thing I definitely have. But as far as workouts, I would say, yeah, I think doing some sprints, a lot of like sled pulls, pushes, squats are really my go-to when it comes to working out. When it comes to circuit training, I got one individual in our department that I copy his workouts if I can do them. Greg, yeah, that guy's a monster. But so I think if you follow a lot of fire departments, a lot of the members will post workouts, or even there's members from certain agencies that have their own Instagram accounts that will post, hey, these are workouts that specifically pertain to the fire service. So I tend to follow some of those individuals so that I can build on my regimen when it comes to working out. But yeah, I hope I answered that question. But yeah, I would say a lot of legs, a lot of cardio if you want to make it through the fire service. So you're going to need that upper body, but you're really gonna need these legs pushing through, carrying all that weight. So,
So I'd like to kind of piggyback and add something onto that. For all of you who are listening or watching or however anybody's getting into the fire service, you always start from somewhere, right? And I know we've already talked a lot about how demanding physically this is in terms of probation, and then even once you're on the department, how much traditionally we work out and, you know, we're fit, family friendly. Like, we absolutely love that slogan and we absolutely embrace it to its fullest. But I don't want people to shy away from the fact that you have to do 45-pound plates on this sled to do it, you know, in order to be able to, you know, be the strongest person out there. We all have things that we bring to the table that are super important, and we all have a starting place. So if you don't have that 1 or 2 or 3 45-pound plates on there, maybe you won't ever be that super, super strong person. But what we're really looking for is one, are you going to give up? No, you're not going to give up, and we want to know what that heart is like, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to, do we feel safe with you? Do we feel safe with you? Can I count on the fact that we can get up to the top of that 10th, 12th, 13th floor, be able to extinguish that fire, rescue patients, and if one of us goes down, can we get them out? That is where the physical ability of the thought of this comes from. So I don't want it to intimidate candidates, because it doesn't matter what department you're going to or what department you get hired with, it's going to be that same mentality. And certain departments embrace it more than others, but that is where ours come from, is that fit, family friendly, so that we can make sure that we go home to our families at the end of the day.
yeah. And like she said, I'm not the biggest guy. So, and Marcus touched on it, having heart. I definitely take pride in you know, my work ethic and heart. There's no way Riverside was gonna have to drag me out of there, because I was not, like she said, I would never give up. I would, even if I have to crawl, pulling some hose, whatever, I wasn't gonna stop. And that's a good point. That's a great point.
Great question. Great question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Mitch?
Well, before we get to Gabriel's next great question, which I think is actually very good, we have an Ashley that says, Rudy Pinedo is my hero. Love you, babe. So.
That may or may not be his wife.
I was really hoping so.
Wait, did that come before or after your shout out of her having you do the sprints? That's so, but it was before. Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. All right. So Gabriel's other question is, are there certain ways that you work out or train to get used to the heat in Riverside, and working out in the heat, or, you know, working a fire or an incident in the heat?
Absolutely. I mean, within reason, everything is first, safety first, last, and always. Don't go out and try to push yourself beyond your limit. Mm-hmm. But for those who aren't with a fire department or may not be able to afford to go and buy their own personal turnouts, recommendations that we give them is to wear a long sleeve sweatshirt, wear jogging pants, wear gloves, wear a beanie, wear things that's going to trap heat, because that's where you become adaptive to an actual turnout. Is your body's so used to releasing heat through your hands and your head, and you'll notice when you put a helmet on and some gloves on, those are going to be the first things you're going to want to take off when things get tough. So being able to adapt in that way, hey, you may not have turnouts, or you may not, but if you have a long sleeve sweater, gloves, any pants that you may be able to put on, a beanie, anything that can just simulate you working in turnouts. And I think that's the biggest tip that we can give anyone, to be able to acclimate to turnouts. Because you can run a 2-minute mile, whatever you want to do, the moment you put turnouts on, that's where rubber meets the road. Mm-hmm. So just being able to accommodate to turnouts, I would say, is the biggest help with that.
An excellent workout you can do in those sweatsuits or whatever too that we frequently do at our department. Find a local parking structure, just run it up and down, do as many laps as you can, and that one's good because there's not necessarily a maximum or a minimum that you need to hit. You can adjust it to wherever you're at and kind of improve yourself in those heat-induced conditions.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's even something to this day that, I mean, Rudy can attest to this. I will still wear sweats even at the station when I work out. Because we don't always wear our turnouts, because there's some chemicals in our turnouts that aren't always good for us to be exposed to. But we still need to, especially as we get older, we don't handle heat as well for a lot of us. And so that's something that I still do, even while I'm a hired firefighter and I'm still in my turnouts doing stuff periodically. Like, I still heat train to keep yourself acclimated to that. So yeah, so sweats, some of those like even like compression, the stuff that you wear during the winter time that's a little tighter, wear that plus a sweatshirt over it and a beanie. Like, it does make a huge difference in terms of how much breathability you have.
These are A1 tips, just absolutely
Great
across the board,
questions.
right?
Yeah, it starts with the questioning. Great
The
questions.
candidates are engaged and they really want Riverside.
And it's good. I mean, if they're going to do that and they've never done that type of workout, though, I would recommend possibly going with a partner, because if you tend to push yourself a little more, we don't want someone dropping from dehydration or, you know what I mean? So if it's something you haven't done before, possibly do it with a partner or someone there that they know that, hey, if something were to happen, at least someone's here with me. So it's just one of those things you slowly build up to. You try to acclimate. So just
drop a pin.
be safe about it. Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
That's right.
All right. So we have one more question in this section before we move on to talk about hiring requirements and all the juicy stuff. Awesome. Mitch?
Excellent. Excuse me. So we've talked about a lot of different aspects of the department, specialties, and different programs. But we have a question here from Mike, who is wondering about support that the department is able to provide, or maybe the local union is able to provide for firefighters that are hurt or struggling with mental health issues.
Absolutely.
I'll take it.
You want to take that?
Yeah,
Here.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So one, we have a peer support program. So we have multiple members within our department that have received specialty training for to help with critical incident debriefing after we've had a really bad incident. And then those people are also those that we kind of have a list of people to go to that if we've just got something that we're struggling with, that whether it's personal, on the job, whatever it may be. We also just got our first service dog. His name's Odin. You can follow him on Instagram. I think it's Odin the dog, right? Odin the dog. He's pretty cool. We love him. He's super cool. We're still learning to take full advantage of him, should I say. But then from a union side of it, we have a foundation that we have set up to help our members that are in need. We actually have a couple of guys right now that are battling with a job-related and non-job-related like critical illnesses. And from the union side and from a department side, we have absolutely gathered around them. We're giving our vacation time to them. We're financially helping them from a union side. We're making donations to them. Like, I can't even, it makes me want to choke up, all of us really, just kind of like thinking about how much these guys really mean to us and how much we, that we really come around them. So it's really cool to see the amount of support that our department has for each other. So.
Absolutely. As you can see, Caden's haircut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Just shaved it.
He supported.
Yep.
We did an event where basically for one of our individuals going through chemotherapy right now, we did 3 days of fundraising where we had an opportunity for each shift to come in and make a donation, get a breakfast burrito, and then get their head shaved. And of course we recorded it, for the whole department to see as well.
Yeah.
Incredibly beautiful. Incredibly beautiful. Wow. And shout out to your agency talking about support and all the things. Just in terms of your leadership that was able to make this episode happen, from your president, is it Detoy or Detoy? President Detoy, all the people involved. Chief McKinster, shout out to him. Yes. Chief Delory, just all the people, and then Captain Tasker, again, shout out to you again, Captain Tasker. All right, and so with that, we really want to talk about, the people want to know, what does it take to get hired? How can they become one of you? How can they sit in the seat with you and be at Riverside? And so we know that the City of Riverside Fire Department uses FCTC's statewide eligibility list for hiring. We have Mitch here, who's the program director for FCTC. And so we're going to start out with Mitch. Mitch, if you could explain what candidates have to do to get on the statewide eligibility list.
Absolutely, Lasana. I appreciate the opportunity. So first off, I do want to mention and answer the question, why is knowing about or being on the statewide eligibility list important? Well, as you just heard, you need to be on FCTC's statewide eligibility list in order to meet the qualifications to work for the City of Riverside Fire Department. But that goes for over 170 other agencies in California as well. So I would say if you're getting started in the process, check out our website at fctconline.org, because that's probably where you should start. But to specifically answer your question, there are 5 minimum requirements for being placed on our statewide eligibility list, and those are being at least 18 years old, having a valid driver's license, having a high school diploma or equivalent, passing the candidate physical ability test, and passing the FCTC written test. And so in addition to those minimum requirements, we highly encourage candidates like you to update all of the information in your FCTC profile so that it's up to date. Upload any certifications that we ask for instance, Firefighter 1, EMT, paramedic. You want to put as much information on that profile as possible, because you never know what little piece of experience or education or something can set you apart from another candidate. So go to fctconline.org, and that's where you'll get started.
Okay, and then also, where can candidates find resources to prepare for the written test and the CPAT through FCTC?
Well, this may come as a surprise, but you will find those resources at fctconline.org. So that is probably the number one takeaway here. Go check out our website. In addition, at Becoming a Firefighter, follow us here on YouTube, subscribe, follow us on the other social media platforms, because we're always putting helpful information out there for our candidates. But in addition to that, on our website, we have resources for preparing for the written test and preparing for the CPAT. And so first I'll touch on the written test. If you go to our website, there's a free 25-page study guide for the written test. So that's a great place to get started, get an overview of the test and the types of questions on there. In addition, you can schedule a written test prep class. This is a 2.5-hour instructor-led class that goes in much more detail through exactly what to expect on test day, reasons that candidates get dismissed, or making sure that you're familiar with all of our rules, and then of course making sure you're familiar with the different subject areas of the test and tackling different sample questions. So that's a really great resource, and I encourage you all to utilize that. For CPAT, we have orientations and practices. CPAT orientation comes free, actually 2 of them come free with your purchase of a CPAT test. So definitely try to take advantage of those, because it doesn't cost you anything, and it's a great opportunity to get your hands on the equipment, to get advice and mentorship from our proctors and staff, most of whom are active or retired firefighters, and so they can actually kind of coach you up at those orientations. The other one is the practice, which there's no coaching at the practice. It is a game day simulation. This is your chance to know whether you're ready to pass the test or not, and maybe how close you are to be in there. So really encourage everyone to take advantage of those preparation resources. And then I would be remiss to talk about resources without mentioning our financial aid awards. Through our partnership with the California Fire Foundation, we're able to offer these financial aid awards to candidates with financial hardship. So again, fctconline.org. We have a financial aid tab at the top of the page. I encourage you to apply if you have financial hardship. And now that I'm mostly done with my spiel there, I want to remind everybody about our upcoming test dates. So whether you're whether you've already applied for Riverside and you need to complete your testing, we encourage you to do that. But as you've heard me say on this show before, you want to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And Riverside hires multiple times a year, and so I encourage everybody, just get fit, get familiar with these tests, so that when the opportunity presents itself for you to apply, you're ready to go.
Thank you so much for that, Mitch. In terms of, just all of the testing dates and all the information, Marcus, if you could kind of walk us through the purpose of the written test happening on August 30th, who should be attending that test, and just kind of what to expect moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. So Mitch knocked it out the park. I mean, he made this easy. Thank you. So, we're hosting our own test on the 30th in the city of Riverside, and that's just for the application window we just had. Unfortunately, it just closed, but don't worry. There's going to be many more openings. Just follow us on social media and stay active in that role, because we post our job flyers to social media when we are accepting applications. So for those who hadn't taken their written, we have one coming up on the 30th in the city of Riverside. But along with the other requirements stated in the state eligibility list, just Riverside specifically, we require you to have an academy or 2 years with a municipal department. That will be equivalent to having an academy. And also, if you have, you'll need a EMT and or a medic license. So kind of standard throughout no matter where you apply, but just for us specifically at Riverside, just a couple additional requirements that we have.
And just to clarify, if you've already applied for the recent window that recently closed at Riverside, if you submitted an application for that, you can take the test up until the 30th.
Yes. So if you haven't taken your written yet and you applied, don't be discouraged. You can still take that test on the 30th, and it goes towards your application that you had already previously put in.
Perfect. And if you missed the window altogether, you didn't even know Riverside was hiring. That's perfect, because in the next few months,
we'll be open again. Yeah. We're always accepting applications several times throughout the year. So it's just a matter of catching that right window and just being prepared for when that window opens, because we don't get much of a warning ourselves. It kind of just, hey, it's coming up. And hey, like Mitch said, stay ready. You don't have to get ready.
That part. And I can see how it's so appealing to new and seasoned firefighters in terms of why it's such an excellent place to work, and what it is you all are looking for with requirements as well.
Yeah, so on top of not only following us on social media, or you can also go to Government Jobs website and create an account there, and they will all pretty much city jobs of any kind will get posted on that website, and you can request to get notifications for when a department that you're interested opens up. So you can select us on one of those options, and then you'll get an email that'll state, once that opens up, and it'll give all the job requirements and everything on there, along with following us on social media.
Perfect. And so, Caden, we're coming back to you. We'd like to know, what advice do you have for candidates as they're going through the application or hiring process, and what can candidates do now to prepare for the next hiring process?
Right, so if you're currently going through the process right now, whether it be at our agency or another agency, just stick with it, right? You've got to basically be locked in, for a better, lack of a better term. You've got to be focused in on this option, and you've got to be figuring out, okay, what am I doing right now in the process? Whether that's I have an oral board coming up, I have a chief's board coming up, or I have a background investigation coming up. What do I need to do to prepare for that? But then also looking down the road, what do I need to do if this is successful? You should always be with that mentality, I'm going to be successful. Am I, physically prepared enough? Do I need to continue my training program? What other avenues do I need to be looking at to continue to get ready for the job? For people who are looking for upcoming hiring announcements, taking advantage of some of the FCTC's programs would be a great option. So like he was talking about, if you're, and like Anna was talking about, if you're concerned about, okay, maybe my physical fitness isn't where it needs to be, that's okay. Take advantage of the CPAT orientation sessions and practice sessions. It's a lot better to go and spend a little bit of money on a practice session and know where you're at, rather than spending a lot of money on the real deal and failing it, and then having to retool and spend that money again. So definitely take advantage of those. Same thing with the written test. Not only do they have those practice test sessions, but they have those. They have the virtual study guide available online that I utilize before my test, and that a lot of candidates utilize. That is basically a simulation of the test. If you treat it as that, it's a great option to prepare yourself for that written test. And a lot of departments will use that as a metric in their hiring process for, who are we going to select for this initial round of interviews.
And speaking of interviews, Anna, you had some really, really good hot takes in terms of just approaching the mindset in terms of approaching an interview. It's just a conversation, that kind of thing. And so do you have any advice for candidates that are preparing for their interview, and also ways that they can make themselves stand out?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that I know one of the biggest things that we really value within members is that life experience, right? So just like we've all demonstrated here with our personal stories today, we haven't all just gone straight out of high school into, being in the fire service. We've all kind of taken different paths. I mean, Caden's the closest to that, but he still had little things that he did differently, or he did things that, like, he loves to travel. So his like life experience was traveling. And so don't think that just because you're not getting hired right now that it's not something that's going to happen. It typically takes most people about 3 years minimum. So don't hesitate to go to college. If you think you want to serve in the military, serve in the military. That's an absolute great item to have on your resume. Travel, go to different places, learn to speak a different language. There's all sorts of different things that you can do that will get you that more life experience. And the reason why that life experience is important is because it creates that ability for us to be able to connect with our community in a deeper way. If we have grown up in a tiny little bubble and we stay in that bubble and we don't know anything else, we don't understand our communities. We don't understand the people that we're there to service. We don't understand how to meet people where they are on what could be the worst day of their life. So those are all just different little things that you can be doing on top of learning how to just have a conversation, right? So lots of little things.
Yeah, I've sat on several panels, and I think another thing I'd like to touch on is, if you're gonna apply to a certain agency, make sure you do your homework, do your research, learn about the city, learn about the department, because there will be questions that pertain to that. And I've sat on the panel where I'm like, this is your opportunity to shine, and they have nothing to give back. And I'm like, well, you're coming here and you're supposed to be telling me why you want to work here. I need to know that you took the time to do that homework. And don't be afraid. Do station visits. Come meet the members of the department. Get some inside information. Learn a little more. Maybe look at some of the apparatus. And maybe this place isn't for me. Or yes, I really want to work here. So I mean, everything Anna touched on. But as far as definitely being on there, I'm a pretty strict grader when it comes to the oral panel. So I take a lot of pride in my department. And if I get someone that did not take that initiative or did not take that time, and then I got an individual who looks familiar. Hey, I remember seeing them at a station visit. They gave me all the information about our specialties and our infrastructure and demographics to know about the city, because it just won't look well compared to the other individual. And who do you think I'm going to pass through? So, and it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can be the best candidate, but this is your opportunity, like you said, to have a conversation and tell us everything about you. We want to learn about you. Will you fit our culture? Will you think you will fit our culture? Yeah, and if so, doors are open. Come on in.
I would say too, I took right before getting hired with Riverside, I took an interview prep class. You may or may not know this, I'm not very well spoken. I'm not the best speaker. I know. How did I get in this seat? I don't know. No. But just taking that interview prep class prior to going into my interviews was a huge step into me knowing who I am, being able to talk about myself and how it relates to the fire service. I think that's what a lot of us forget, is when we get into these interviews, we're not always in tune with ourselves, and we don't always like talking about ourselves. So when we do, it's kind of just uncomfortable territory, but that's what we want. We want you to open up to us so we know exactly who we're hiring. So just along with that, interview prep classes, they're available. Look at whatever's near you. Don't ever hesitate to take one of those too, in addition to knowing about the department you're applying for. Those are all good things that are going to help you in the long run of getting hired.
Absolutely. And as you build out these life experiences, like Anna was talking about, trying to build up that life experience for the job, it's going to make you a better interviewer too, because you have to put yourself out there for these new experiences, whether that's travel, whether that's getting a new job, whether that's advancing yourself in the school realm. No matter what, you're going to get better at interviewing, which is going to pay off in the long run. So even if it's not something where you're gaining more qualifications, on paper, you're getting better at talking to people, which is really how you're going to get a job at the end of the day, is how well can you talk to someone and sell yourself.
Absolutely. And don't give up. Just don't give up. Took me 3 times, but I got it.
And since we're on the kind of the subject of hiring, and I mean, I even mentioned earlier, like I was in my mid-30s when I made a major career change. Don't let that don't let your age inhibit you from what you want to do in life. If you truly want to make a change for you and your family, go for it. The thing that I love about kind of getting into the fire service is there's online classes that you can take to get your associates in fire science. They're not all in person that you have to do, so you can go to night school. I mean, I went to night school. There's lots of different avenues that you can take based off of where you're located. And those online schools, you don't have to be in the same city that college is in, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And I've even encouraged, just like what Rudy said earlier with how he went and started building airplane parts. Like, he knew he needed to do something mechanically because he didn't have a good mechanical background. So if you come from someplace that you don't have a good mechanical background, go to a local college on a night class and take a small engines class. Take a diesel class. Like, I mean, there's all sorts of different things. Take a woodworking class. I mean, there's all sorts of really cool things that community colleges offer that people don't even think about, that are just great knowledge, fun things to understand. Like, you can build a coffee table. I mean, just like all sorts of fun things. Or station table, exactly. I mean, we have a lot of actual custom things within our stations. Quite a few of our stations, our kitchen table is custom built by members at the station. We have artwork within the station that's all custom built, all because people have delved into trying to just learn about something, and they learned a new craft, and now all of a sudden they can do these things. So it's about being curious and challenging yourself to learn something new. So don't let yourself hesitate just because you don't think that there's the avenues to do it and still be working a job or taking care of a family. So
something related to that. I don't want to take away what she's saying from, and gaining all these experiences. But on the flip side, never think you're too young. I remember being 19 going into my chief's interview, and I told one of my mentors, I was like, I know I'm not going to get the job, but I think it'll be a good, set and rep in the future. And then, ultimately I ended up getting the job, being successful on probation, which was really cool. But never, take an opportunity away from yourself, or never see a job flyer and think, I don't think I'm going to even get it at this department. Why am I going to bother? The department's never going to, ask you to apply. They're never going to apply for you. You have to kind of put yourself out there, apply. Even if you think you might be underqualified, still put it in. Worst case scenario, they say no. Best case scenario, you get a job and you're off probation like me. So never put yourself down.
Yes, 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 yes to everything you guys are saying. This is outstanding. I just feel really inspired. I know candidates watching or listening in do too, and just all the pieces. So keep adding on. We're going to go to the chat and take some more questions, but keep it coming. Yes. Mitch?
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to take this first question because it's what's the minimum test score from FCTC to be considered by Riverside? Well, the minimum score is 70%. Of course, if you want to be competitive, like any competitive test, obviously a higher score is better than a lower one, but 70% is the passing score. And so that will allow you to be considered in their process. So I have a couple of questions about timing of just when do interviews occur in relation to, once you submit the application, what's kind of the process from there, and how long before you actually get interviewed?
Right. Okay. So typically with our department in recent processes, it's been about 3 months for the first group off of that initial application to get their interviews, but we'll go as late to 6 or 7 months off of that list, still doing our initial board interviews. And then after that, typically within a month of that is going to be your chief's interview, where you meet with one of our deputy chiefs and then the fire chief. They interview you. And then after that, anywhere from 4 to 5 months in the background, medical and psychiatric evaluation process to when you'll get your official offer letter and you'll be able to start at the department. So the quick timeline for us would be anywhere from 8 to 10 months, and then the longer end would be a year to 14 months off of your application date.
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback a little bit off of that, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, and a lot of things that cities and departments don't have control over. So we have background things that have to go through DOJ. HR within the city has their own hiring processes that they have all their checkboxes that they have to do. So I know sometimes it can feel like it can take a long time, but don't get discouraged if you are in the process, because it's just a process that unfortunately we have to go through. And some cities are a little quicker than others. It just depends upon how they're set up, but ours can take at the least 8 months up to even a year, just depending upon how many candidates we have, how many we're trying to process, all of that type of stuff. So
And ultimately, too, it's still good news if you've made it to the phase of a process where a department's looking at your background, where they're paying for a medical evaluation. You've got to think of that as good news when you're in that phase. So.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously everybody has financial demands, and they're don't stop doing what you're doing and stop growing during that period of time. So keep yourself engaged, keep taking classes, keep working, whatever it is that you're doing. And then once that day comes, that day will come, and I will tell you that you will know when that happens, when it's the right move for you, because things will just fall into place. So.
All right. Mitch?
All right. And Anna, maybe you're a great person to answer this question, as you just mentioned coming into the fire service a little bit later in life. I'm going to combine a couple questions, one from Nicole and one from JP. But is 40 plus too old to start off your career as a firefighter? And secondarily, what advice would you give to an older applicant trying to make a career change into the fire service?
Yeah. First off, 40 plus is not too old at all. In the first department that I was hired with, I believe the oldest gentleman in class with me was 45, and then still had a whole nother year probation to go with that. So I was 34 when I first got hired. I was 39 when I came over to Riverside. The things that you just have to then adapt for is, obviously, we've got some more physical ailments that these fine, young, strapping gentlemen don't necessarily always have to deal with, but you just listen to your body, right? Sometimes maybe our workouts prepping are a little more geared towards improving some of those ailments to where we are making sure that those joints and everything are strengthened and mobile and all that type of stuff. But again, it all comes down to heart. We are wanting to make sure that you are not going to quit. That is the biggest thing. So listen to your body, don't give up. If you're not already been somebody that has been, fit and active and things like that, just take one more step each day at a time. So it's just one progress at a time. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add on to that.
We recently hired someone who was 48, and they successfully made it through probation.
Yep.
So, you can never put a cap on, am I too old, am I too young? It's kind of just follow your heart. You got to just be able to think you're young in order to be able to recover like a young person like Hayden. So there's just, there's no cap you can put on it.
And shout out to your most recent hire for making it through the
Yes.
academy.
Yeah.
Woo. Mitch, let's take a couple more questions.
All right. I just have one more for this section. And Lighter from the YouTube chat would like to know about, essentially, do you have advice for candidates applying from out of state that maybe have volunteer or other kinds of firefighting and EMS experience, but that are looking to relocate to Riverside?
So we do offer one of the avenues that you can come in is as a seasoned firefighter. We signify it as a lateral, but if you're somebody, we've actually even had a couple of applicants that I know in this last couple of years have applied from like Georgia and South Carolina. It is absolutely not a problem as long as you meet the requirements. I believe for that path, it's 2 years of municipal time, and then you just have to meet the California requirements as far as like obtaining your California EMT license and all of that type of stuff, which honestly, if you're coming in and you have the national registry side of it done and you apply and you show that, it's just a process to get you involved with the California side of it. But if you meet those requirements, and if you don't meet those requirements and you've already had some service at another department, but just not within those requirements, you can still come in as basically what we consider a true new hire and do the full one year probation with it. So there's definitely avenues to it. Honestly, we have a lot of people that are in our department that have come from other departments to better themselves and just difference in lifestyle and things like that, that it actually makes us better when we have people that come in with other experiences. And I'm life experience, department experience, whatever it is, it does nothing but make us as a whole unit body better, because we have those difference of how we learned how to do something, whether it be pulling hose, a different ventilation technique, whatever it is. Those are all things that we have brought in and morphed us to make us even better over the years. So.
I would say too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We have members of our department that live out of state currently. So, I mean, we prefer, obviously, everyone be local just because of things that can happen in the city. It's just easier to respond to, but we're not limited to that. So anyone coming from out of state is more than welcome to apply, more than welcome to get all the qualifications and requirements that we have for our department, and absolutely apply and still be able to, if you're okay with just going on that airplane every few days, to come in to and from work. Like I said, the options there. We're not limited to you have to be a local applicant.
And don't be afraid to reach out to our human resources. If you need clarification, hey, I don't think I'm understanding, or I don't know if I really truly meet this criteria, and don't submit an application. No, call human resources. Hey, I just need clarification. I saw that you guys stated this. I have this. I don't have this. Am I eligible? And find out, and like you said, I would still put an application and let them know this is what I have. I wasn't sure if I met the criteria or not, but don't be afraid to communicate with human resources.
Absolutely. No limits in terms of, this is wonderful. With that being said, we are going to come back to you, Caden, and talk about life in the day in the life of a probationary firefighter. So what does that look like at the City of Riverside?
Right, so a day in the life of a probationary firefighter depends on your station, right? You might be assigned to a single company engine station, which is what I was for my entire probation. So I had 3 other individuals that I was working with for the duration of that. Or you might get assigned to one of our larger stations that can have up to 9 other people you're working with, including the battalion chief. But typically your morning starts out, as a probationary firefighter, you're just trying to demonstrate that you want to be there, that you're motivated, and that you want to show the individuals on duty that you're going to try to take care of them as best as you can. So part of that is kind of like the informal probationary traditional stuff. So we'll ice up the ice chest to make sure we're ready to go. A lot of the time we'll have out-of-service drills during the day where we go and we spend 4 hours at our training tower, basically bettering ourselves, but it can get pretty exhausting. So we want to make sure our crew has some nice cold refreshments, and you want to look out for yourself in the future by making sure you have that available. Kind of the informal stuff of making the coffee, bringing the newspaper in, setting the table, making sure the dishwasher was undone. And then we go into a PT session. Traditionally on our probation, we do, like they mentioned earlier, a gauntlet style workout for the majority of days, if not every day of our rotation at work. So that consists of getting into full turnout gear with a breathing apparatus. We'll go and we'll pull hose, throw ladders, force doors if you're at a station that has that prop, which actually all of our stations are getting a new one soon. So every station will have a brand new forcible entry prop for the probationaries and the members off probation to work on. And then they'll also be, depending on the station, my station's pretty cool. We had previous members set up 2 palm trees that then has a log across the top of it, and they rigged a pulley so you can hoist a hose pack into the air and bring it back down. So some stations have little cool things like that in there. You'll then progress during the day, whether that's an out-of-service drill or in-service drill, there's always some form of training for our probationary firefighters. I'm sure these guys can attest to it. When you're at a probationary station, there's a lot on the agenda. So whether that's, we're going to pull some hose and flow some water that day, whether that's, hey, you need to work on your ladders, let's go and throw the 24, or, we're going to go do a variety of different evolutions that are meant to prepare you for your testing process. And then at the end of the day, there will be some form of dinner. And then we do it a little bit differently at our department. A lot of departments will do the younger member cleans out the toilets or the bathrooms at the end of the day. We actually have them do the kitchen because that's such a communal space that everybody spends a lot of great time in. That we want to make sure that that's, as clean and prim and proper as possible. And it also lets people get a really great impression of the station when you come in and you go, wow, this kitchen is, looking fantastic. So you'll do that as your chore assignment. And then as you progress through your probation, we have an evaluation for both halves of your probation, the first 6 months and the second 6 months, where basically you go into the training division and they give you a sort of mock test. It's a little bit lower than what the full test will be, but that way okay, these are my expectations 3 months from now. This is what I'm gonna have to accomplish. I need to work on, maybe it's ladders, maybe I need to work on my knots, maybe I need to work on my hose skills, and you'll get that straight from the horse's mouth in the training division, and you'll be able to improve, and your crew will be able to train with you on whatever you need help on. And then at your 6-month mark and your 1-year mark, you'll do a formal evaluation where you go down to the training tower for 4 hours and they look at all the skills that you've trained for the last 6 months and evaluate you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well said. Right. So busy days.
Well said. Yeah.
Man, I believe we have a question for you in this section. Mitch?
Yes. So Tyler is wondering, what is something that you wish you knew prior to starting your journey in the fire service? Yeah, I think probably all of you.
It's a great question.
Yeah, that is it.
You do so much prep leading into this that you kind of get a good grasp on it before you actually get your feet wet.
I guess something for me that I wish I knew. I'm so grateful to have this job. I'm grateful every day going to work, but I feel like at times I was really rushing and I was focused on those requirements, kind of like Anna was talking about. What made me a better candidate was just improving myself, and whether that was specifically work-related items where it's my EMT school, my paramedic license, or whether it's just living my life and developing myself personally, I wish I kind of knew that, and I focused a little more on becoming a more well-rounded person.
That's good. That's good.
I'll say one thing that, I mean, especially for myself, one, coming in later in life and having limited time to devote to going to different departments and learning more about the cultures. The culture aspect of what's expected on probation, how station life is, that type of stuff. That was honestly like the hardest part for me. Was, again, like I said, my process from time I kind of decided to the time I got hired was a year and a half. Still working 60, 80-hour weeks. There was little time to kind of go do things. So if there was one thing that I would have learned more about before getting into it, was that culture. And a lot of that culture is very similar throughout all departments. Each department has little traditions and stuff that are different, but as far as like the overall culture of what a fire department is, that's kind of where I think I would have honed in a little bit more on, because that aspect of even being on probation is one of the hardest parts. It's like not only the physical stuff, you're like, how do I deal with station life? Who do I talk to? When can I talk? When can I not talk? How do I address something if I have a problem? Like, I mean, just all that type of stuff as a probie, because you're like supposed to be like, don't say anything. And, I mean, so it's such a different culture, especially coming from more of a corporate type world, or, what we think of as traditional jobs. There's such a different culture within the stations that is where I would have liked to have known more about. So.
Yeah, I guess when I was doing it, I didn't know about the Explorer programs and all that, and I had just graduated high school. So when I found out that that's what I wanted to do, maybe I wish I would have known about it. Being 18, I know you're on the older end of it, but still, I could have been like, hey, you know what? Maybe I will go join an Explorer program and see if maybe this truly is what I want to do. But now that I have two sons and they both, I want to be firefighters at least. Now being a firefighter now, hopefully I can guide them in that direction if that's something they choose to embark in. So, and that was cool that Caden got to utilize all that time, and so I wish I would have known about that a little more, maybe some more about the mock interview, like seminars. I didn't know anything about that. I kind of just went in and winged it and had to find out by trial and error. I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have known a lot more about this, but the resources are out there. That's my fault for not utilizing those resources, but now you have social media where a lot of the fire departments are posting, hey, we're having interview sessions or seminars. We have Explorer programs. Hey, we're starting an ambulance operator program here if you want to work as an EMT. So social media has actually been a great avenue to basically to advertise the fire service in a sense. So
I would say I wish I knew, not necessarily just for Riverside specifically, but just in general, that I didn't have to rush. I felt so pressured to get a job as soon as possible, and getting discouraged that I wasn't getting a call or wasn't passing an interview or wasn't getting to a chief's oral. I wish I would have known there's so much opportunity that you don't have to get in right out of high school. You don't have to get in when you're 20. There's times that you can get in that it's just, especially with the way that retirement is set up now, you're gonna work most likely till 57 or beyond. So getting in at 19 years old, you're gonna just push yourself that much longer. So I just wish I would have known. I didn't have to rush. I had time, and there was plenty of time in life to prepare myself for this position. So if anything, I wish I would have known that, because I beat myself up a lot growing up. Man, I'm not getting hired. Man, I need to get in, and I'm a disappointment. And it's not like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Just take time. Everything happens for a reason. Your time will come if you stay persistent. That is the biggest thing I can give you. It'll come.
piggybacks to yours, like, hey, travel, get your education, get some life experience, you know, and absolutely.
Yourself.
Yeah, learn about yourself.
Especially when you're young, and
the
you know,
world.
I mean, or even if it's later, you're like, hey, I do know about myself. I'm not a behind the desk kind of person. You know, like I like to interact, I like to communicate and stuff, but like I need to be on the move. I don't sit well. If anybody knows me.
Oh man, all of this is such excellent advice, and I just want to thank you all for the level of authenticity you brought to the space. Excuse me, as candidates, you know, kind of listen in and get some tips on the best way to prepare themselves for Riverside specifically. It's just been outstanding. I do want to, again, this isn't my official thank you. I have many thank yous, so let me run through them. But one of them is also just we have a huge following of people that are in the middle of changing a career. They're considering the fire service. They're discovering desk work isn't for me. These lights are fancy, but the regular lights in most offices are not. This isn't for me, that kind of thing. And so, you know, just kind of discovering that. And so really being able to speak to people that are in the middle of that decision, because it's a scary place to be, especially, you know, you mentioned not having, or just the finances, and just that's a big part of the decision. And so just being able to speak to that demographic that we know follows this page, that we know is tuning in right now, as well as the high school students, and, you know, and the range in between. So thank you all for that. I did mention that we would have an opportunity to share words of wisdom. I feel like you've shared a lot of wisdom already, but I do want to give you the opportunity if there's something you wanted to add to what you've already said. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the candidates with today? Any final thoughts?
Just be relentless. Be relentless. If you're relentless, you'll make it through. I mean, like we said, we've come to some roadblocks and some, you know, trials and tribulations in life, and life will throw things at you. Just be relentless, stick with it, and you're gonna have to adapt. Just like when you join the fire service, you're gonna have to adapt to certain situations, certain calls, certain training scenarios. So yeah, just be relentless in everything you do, you know, and you'll accomplish your goals. You know, once I got hired, I said, I want to work on a truck. I'm on a truck now, and I'm loving it, and I don't want to leave the truck. And you know, you just set those goals, be relentless, and you'll accomplish them. So
Absolutely. I would say patience. I kind of already touched on it, but patience is your friend. Be patient, your time will come. Just be patient and trust the process. That'd be my word.
Related to trusting the process and being patient, you know, during that time, continue to develop yourself. Never, you know, turn down an opportunity. Never say, I don't think that would be right for me. If you have the opportunity to better yourself, do it. You know, if you have the opportunity and you have some downtime to maybe complete a couple of online classes towards getting your associates, or whether that's, you know, I've been an EMT for a little while, let's go be a paramedic, you know, while I'm waiting to get a firefighting job. Go do that. Take that initiative, and that'll reflect on the interview.
Mm-hmm. I'll say a few things. 1, always be true to yourself. 2, follow your heart. Wherever you're supposed to be, you will always end up being there. And then lastly, don't put yourself in a box and think, I want to work for this one department. Because this profession right now, there are so many departments that are looking to hire. And I'm going to say this is the best department. We are top notch. You cannot get really any better, but there are always different ways to go about getting where you want. I started another department. I never thought I would leave. I left, and I'm here where I'm never gonna leave, you know? So don't put yourself in that box to where you think, okay, it has to be Riverside, or it has to be LA, or it has to be San Diego. If there's a department open, interview. Go interview. The experience that you get from it, the people that you meet from it, you will never get that type of stuff back. And that just goes to building yourself, learning more about yourself, learning more about this profession. So don't put yourself in a box.
So good. All of this is so good. So good. I just have this vision of you in my mind of like, you learned how to ride horses at 3. You've been hammering things since 5. You've been taking the CPAT your whole life. And so just imagine the person that's like been preparing for this, that's been taking the CPAT their whole, or just, you know, just preparing the entire time, not knowing that this is what, but landing in the right place at the right time, as each of you have done.
She's a go-getter. We'll be running downstairs, and I'll be running by. Let's go, Rudy! Like, all right, let's go.
I just stuck my shoulder out. He's like, oh gosh.
Oh, shoulder check. I'll see her come. Like, oh, get ready. Get ready.
I can see it. I believe you. This has been outstanding. I so much just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for coming all the way to Sacramento on behalf of myself as well as the team. You know, there's a lot of people that play a part in making today happen. So thank you so much for being here.
I want to thank you too.
This has been
like
exceptional.
Family. We gained a family member today.
We did a good job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
You're very
you
welcome.
guys are offering a lot of resources to people that we didn't know existed. Like, this is absolutely amazing. So
Spread the word.
Good. There we go.
So
Let's
thank
go.
you. Thank you.
You're so very welcome. Each of you are. All right. So if you are interested, and by now I know you are interested in applying to the City of Riverside in the future, definitely, or if you still have questions, we strongly encourage you to connect with them directly. You can go to joinrfd at riversideca.gov. I'm sure that that's in the chat. We'll make sure that it's in the description as well. So we have links to their website, their social media, and all of that listed below in the description box. A couple announcements we have for you today. One of them, these are a few different programs that we have that are coming up. So please keep an eye out for these, awesome opportunities to get engaged and to meet firefighters along the way. One of them is the Cal-JAC is hosting the Cal-JAC Commission to Recruit Women for the Fire Service is hosting a meet and greet. And so this is in partnership with the San Jose Fire Department. And we look at a meet and greet as an event for women to come out, to ask questions, to try out the CPAT course, and to really get exposure to the fire service in a really safe and comfortable environment. You can ask the questions you have about the realities of building a family, the realities of not passing the CPAT, the realities of passing the CPAT, and what comes next, and just kind of all of those things, but within the safety of people that have the answers for you, that will be patient with you and kind of get those things answered. So that's happening September 21st, 10 a.m. We will be at FCTC Livermore. Keep an eye out on our social media, Becoming a Firefighter. If you follow us on any of the platforms, we'll have a flyer up for that so that you can go ahead and register. And again, that's happening at FCTC Livermore, September 21st. Then the following month in October, we have our Career Expo coming up. It's back again. This will be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This will be in South El Monte, right outside of LA. Registration is currently open. Use the QR code to get registered. The City of Riverside, who you met today, they will be there. We're hoping to get these specific humans there, but we can guarantee that the department itself, they're already registered to attend. And this is an opportunity for you to meet fire department recruiters, to get hands-on experience with the CPAT, also to take an up-close look at different fire apparatus. Excuse me, it's family friendly, lunch is provided, there's a kids physical ability test course. So if you have kiddos with you and maybe that's the reason why you can't come, bring them. We're aware that this is a huge decision to pursue the fire service, and we know that the family needs to be involved, which is why it's a family-friendly event. So come on out and join us for that. Again, you can register at caljac.org, which is in the description below. You can also use the QR code, and we look forward to seeing you there. Very last announcement is our next RITS episode, or Recruitment in the Spotlight episode, will host Sacramento Fire Department. And so that's happening on November 21st, right here at 12 noon. And so we want you to, look forward to that episode as well. So lock in the date. We already have the link up on right here on our YouTube page. So make sure you save that. Excuse me, on your calendar. And so again, if you were inspired by the conversation today, we highly recommend that you like and subscribe to this channel as well as to Riverside's page, excuse me, on social media and their website. Go ahead and check out our other content while you're here. There's so much in store. There's so much for you to learn about as it relates to testing and just watching these different episodes and really seeing what departments are looking for. You're going to notice some very central themes that kind of flow throughout. And so in addition to YouTube, we are also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X, all with the handle @BecomingAFF. So thank you again to Riverside. Thank you so much for watching, excuse me, and for being here. And thank you, everyone. Peace out. Bye.